The Merovingian, upon his return in The Matrix Resurrections, promised we would see him again in a spin-off. Yet there was no sign of his loyal companion and wife, Persephone. Since the Merovingian is one of the few characters to have survived multiple Matrix simulation resets, it's highly likely that Persephone also survived the resets and the purge of programs followed by the Analyst's hostile takeover of the Matrix. So where is Persephone? And could she return in Matrix 5? While we continue to wait for any news about Matrix 5, still currently in production under the direction of Drew Goddard, it's time to revisit Persephone's story and examine 5 theories about this enigmatic and seductive character in the lead-up to Matrix 5. Did you know that Persephone could have been the architect's wife, or that she tried to clone Neo with a kiss? Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Number 5. What does the name Persephone mean? Persephone is an important character in Greek mythology, the daughter of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and fertility. Persephone was primarily known as the goddess of spring, a young goddess full of life and beauty. But everything changed the day that she attracted the attention of the god of the underworld. One day, while Persephone was picking flowers in a field, Hades, the god of the underworld, fell in love with her. Determined to have her for himself, Hades emerged from the ground in his chariot drawn by black horses and kidnapped Persephone, taking her to the underworld to make her his queen. When Demeter discovered that her daughter was missing, she plunged into grief so deep that the very lands became barren. She searched for Persephone all over the world, but to no avail, as no one could tell her where her daughter was. When finally the sun god Helios revealed to Demeter that Hades had kidnapped Persephone, furious, Demeter failed to perform her duties as the goddess of agriculture, causing a great famine. In an attempt to end this calamity, Zeus ordered Hades to return Persephone. However, there was an issue. Those who ate in the underworld were doomed to remain there forever, and Persephone had eaten pomegranate, the fruit of the underworld, while she was with Hades. So a compromise was reached. Persephone would spend part of the year with Hades in the underworld during fall and winter, and the rest of the year she would be on the surface with her mother during spring and summer. This is the mythological explanation for the changing of the seasons. If we apply Greek mythology to decipher the fate of Persephone in the Matrix, we could label her as the daughter of the architect and the oracle. In this scenario, she would have assisted the progressive cycles of the Matrix. However, like her mythological counterpart, she caught the attention of the Hades of this world, the Merovingian. Notice that the Merovingian's club is named Hell, a rather obvious nod to his role as ruler of the Matrix underworld. Just as Hades is the king of the underworld in Greek mythology, the Merovingian occupies a similar position in the Matrix lore. So Persephone's original purpose might have been to help her parents, the architect and the oracle, manage and maintain the Matrix. But like her namesake from Greek mythology, Persephone found herself imprisoned by the Merovingian in the Matrix underworld. Persephone is trapped in a loveless marriage with the Frenchman. She is his wife. Persephone said that she did love him once, but not anymore. Thus, she longs for that raw emotion that she once felt. We saw this emotional disconnect in the scene where she kisses Neo, hoping to experience a taste of his passion for Trinity. This yearning for emotions and love is reminiscent of the story of Persephone in Greek mythology. Although she was the queen of the underworld alongside Hades, she desired the life and vitality of the upper lands. It can be speculated that the union between Persephone and the Merovingian could be the result of a mythological-like arrangement. Perhaps the Merovingian, enchanted by Persephone, took her with him, making her the queen of his underworld. Trapped in this new life without authentic emotions, Persephone developed a thirst to experience the love and emotions that humans share. Now then, the Merovingian did felt great affection for Persephone, and after he lost his power, his standing, and his wife, he turned into a vagabond. But then what happened to Persephone? With the Analyst's deletion of the architect and the oracle, it is possible that the suits gain access to all Matrix source code. and the programs connected to it. The purging of the programs that were on the side of the architect was enacted. If our theory that Persephone was the daughter of the mother and father of the Matrix is correct, she too must have been erased. We know that in Matrix Online, Persephone was still an influential character, and she was still by the Merovingians' side, but after the machine's civil war, she disappeared. If a continuation of Matrix Resurrections is ever made, maybe some light could be shined upon the mystery of Persephone's disappearance. But do you agree? Was Persephone another casualty of the machine's civil war? Number 4. Was Persephone the architect's wife? When the architect revealed to Neo the reality about the Matrix and the intuitive program, Neo assumed that the architect was talking about the Oracle.
Thus the answer was stumbled upon by another, an intuitive program, initially created to investigate certain aspects of the human psyche. If I am the father of the Matrix, she would undoubtedly be its mother.
The Oracle.
Please.
The architect's please comment is usually taken as a condescending remark. He says please in that tone because he finds it ironic that the Red Pills would call her the Oracle. But what if the architect reacted this way because the Oracle is not the intuitive program? What if the intuitive program was Persephone? To understand this, we must visit a theory from 2003 by philosopher Peter B. Lloyd, one of the philosophers interviewed in a documentary from the Matrix DVD collection. Peter's theory about the origin of the mother of the Matrix can be found in his book, Exegesis of the Matrix. This theory is part of the foundation of the importance of the names in the trilogy. The Wachowskis claimed that we can understand many things about the characters if we know the meanings behind their names. Neo is an anagram of one, which indicates that he is the One. Morpheus comes from the god of dreams, who revealed the secrets of the gods to humans while they slept. Other characters like the Oracle come from the Delphi Oracle, which was a fortune teller who gave prophecies about the future. And the architect, of course, refers to the great architect of Gnosis, God. The names of the Matrix characters are just as important as the characters themselves. Therefore, to understand who the mother of the Matrix is, we must understand who Persephone is. In Greek mythology, Persephone is the daughter of Zeus and Demeter. She is the goddess of fertility and was kidnapped by the god of the underworld. We can deduce that in the Matrix, this god of the underworld who kidnaps the goddess of fertility is the Merovingian, but there is something else hidden within the relationship of these two characters. According to Peter Lloyd, the historical Merovingians, along with other crusaders, idealized the figure known as the Black Madonna. This figure had emerged in the early years of Christianity when the worship of the ancient Greek goddess Persephone could not be eradicated, but was rebadged as a Christian worship of the Black Madonna. This is a phenomenon called syncretism, in which different religious beliefs take on different identities over time. Therefore, the fact that Persephone from Greek mythology somehow ends up in Christianity is not uncommon. But what is interesting is Lloyd's proposal regarding Persephone's connection with the Merovingians. The name Merovingian comes from a dynasty that existed in real life. If what Peter says in his excerpt from this book is correct, Persephone's connection to the Merovingian is much deeper than we thought. Peter B. Lloyd references a Gnostic book that tells a very interesting story similar to what we saw in Matrix Reloaded. According to J.R. Plowman's curious book, Book of the Holy Grail, the architect of the universe had a wife called Isa. The following is from the Merovingian Bible in Plowman's book. At one time, there was only God, the great architect of the universe. He was all omnipotent and existed alone. This caused him to be discontented. Thus he split himself into two in order to create a mate. He kept the elements of order and logic for his own being, and gave his mate the elements of chaos and emotion for her being. Her name is Isa. She became so overwhelmed with love at her creation that when he kissed her, she gave him a reaction which was to become known as the chosen response. The chosen response was the first acknowledgement and reaction of love between male and female in the universe, and this became the greatest secret of and mystery of mankind being the Holy Grail. According to Plowman, the later incident is reenacted by individuals who are questing for the Holy Grail. The person who is questing must meet the perfect Grail princess, who embodies the spirit of Isa, and she must fall in love with him and reveal the chosen response when kissed. This curiously parallels the scene in which Persephone will respond by leading Neo to the Keymaker only if Neo kisses her with a passion. We also seem to have a strange implication that Persephone was the architect's wife before she went off with the Merovingian. The parallels with the Reloaded story are certainly suggestive. The architect complains that, while he is perfectly logical, the mother of the Matrix is intuitive. This parallels the Gnostic architect who embodies order and logic, while his wife Isa embodies chaos and emotion. Neo, who is clearly on a quest, must kiss Persephone, who has evidently fallen in love with him, in order to get to the chosen response of an introduction with the Keymaker.
I'll give you what you want, but you have to give me something.
What?
A kiss.
A very interesting tale that has too many implications in the Matrix. It completely changes our perception of the Oracle and Persephone. If the Wachowskis took this story of Persephone, or Isa, from the Gnostic text, and her connections to the Merovingian dynasty in real life to mold the Persephone from the Matrix trilogy, she would certainly be the #1 candidate to be the mother of the Matrix. She would be the origin of love within the Matrix universe after she was created by the architect. The similarities between the Gnostic story and Matrix Reloaded are undeniable. So is Persephone the mother of the Matrix? Number 3. What if Persephone were a previous version of Trinity, just as the Merovingian was of Neo? Persephone's comparison has long been the cornerstone of the theory that the Merovingian was one of Neo's predecessors, that once upon a time, he was the one. However, this was not what Persephone meant. Her husband himself told Neo that he had survived his predecessors, which implies that he was never the one.
Mark my words, boy, and mark them well. I have survived your predecessors, and I will survive you.
Some time ago, we discussed in depth one of the paintings in the Merovingian's chateau. That painting visually describes the character's history, of how this program may have existed since the Second Renaissance of the Machine War.
This is medieval times, and there's the rest of us. This is all us humans on Earth battling it out. And then above that, we've got heaven with the angels. But the angels aren't really just angels. The angels are actually manipulating what's going on Earth. And who's at the center of heaven? But Merv himself. So it's all about him. Again, he's controlling everything that's going on in heaven and everything that's happening on Earth.
The Merovingian, once being an ex-Red Pill or human, has been ruled out since its introduction.
He's being held prisoner by a very dangerous program. One of the oldest of us. He is called the Merovingian, and he will not let him go willingly.
So to help understand Persephone's comparison, we must first cover what Neo's situation was in Matrix Reloaded. Neo lived his days in ignorance, a prisoner looking for a purpose. He found such a purpose once choosing to become a Red Pill. After that, all of his choices led him into becoming the One. Neo became the savior, helping other humans to escape the Matrix and protecting the young potentials still inside the simulation. Neo had found his purpose, though at the beginning of Matrix Reloaded, Neo was still lost. He was seeking the Oracle for help because he feared losing Trinity. He feared losing his purpose.
I wish I knew what I'm supposed to do. That's all. I just wish I knew.
She's gonna call. Don't worry.
Neo in Matrix Reloaded was just as lost as Thomas Anderson was in The Matrix. He was still a prisoner of the system without realizing it, something that the architect would later explain. Now then, the Merovingian was born as part of the Matrix system, possibly assisting the robots during the Machine War. Like Neo, the program was born with a purpose, but something happened that changed him. Towards the end of the first beta matrix, something led him into becoming an entity that fought against the system. We know this because the Merovingian was the one who helped programs like Seraph, who was an agent of the Paradise Matrix, to escape. The Frenchman became the liberator of the exiled programs. Like Neo, who helped the potentials to awaken to the real world, the Merovingian helped programs to escape into the Matrix. They were both heroes to their respective groups. But also like Neo, the Merovingian was being controlled. The Merovingian would later reach an agreement with Persephone. He rescues her and then takes her as his wife. We can see the similarities between the two couples. The Merovingian's relationship with Persephone could have been similar to Neo and Trinity's. The two programs may have worked together to save exiled programs from deletion. The Merovingian possibly thought that he found his purpose in being an enemy of the system, just like Neo did, but he changed into a selfish and cruel person.
I am so sick and tired of his bullshit. On and on. Pompous prick.
The Frenchman now cheats on his wife constantly, and was no longer altruistic or empathetic. He became an opportunist when helping the programs. So what could have caused this change in the Merovingian? The program could have had an existential crisis, just like Neo had after his conversation with the architect. The Merovingian may have realized that he, like the exiles, was meant to fulfill a purpose that was designed by the architect and the oracle. Many of you have asked us why the architect allows the Frenchman's existence to continue in the Matrix. The answer is simple. He and the other exiled programs still serve a necessary purpose within the simulation. Seraph, for example, was supposed to be deleted after the Paradise Matrix failed, yet the Merovingian helped him to escape to the next simulation. Seraph now serves as the protector of the mother of the Matrix. Therefore, for Seraph's purpose to be renewed, he had to meet the Merovingian. The Merovingian was unknowingly contributing to the stability of the Matrix. He could not escape cause and effect, and perhaps this is what changed him, losing his purpose and becoming lost. Realizing that he doesn't make decisions, he was part of the cause and effect of the Matrix. The Frenchman then knew that he was being used and controlled by the mother and father of the simulation, and now he wished to break them.
Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
The exiled program was awakened and could see the strings that controlled him. This is why he wants to destroy the Oracle. He is the anti-Neo, an evil program that wants to destroy the system that used him, taking advantage of those weaker than him and using them to his advantage. Regardless, the Merovingian cannot escape the clutches of the Oracle, because although he believed that he had finally destroyed her, it was still part of the Oracle's plan. She sacrificed her shell so that the Merovingian would help Sati to enter the Matrix. Another parallelism found between Neo and the Merovingian is the loss of love. Neo's love that he had for Trinity was real, but the architect said that he was programmed to feel love. The Merovingian did try to explain to Neo how easy it is to invoke or encode emotions through something as innocuous as food. He also might have known that the supposed love that he felt for Persephone was also part of cause and effect, which makes the stories of the One and the Frenchman even more similar and somewhat tragic. Number 2. Was Persephone a creature from the Nightmare Matrix? As we mentioned in the previous theory about the seductive mistress, the mythology around Persephone is linked to Hades and Greek mythology. If the story of the female program from the Matrix bears the same parallel to the story of the land of the dead in Greek mythology, then Persephone might have been created within the Nightmare Matrix. But how could such an attractive and seemingly harmless dame have been born in such a horrid place? If the theory that Persephone can steal others' codes through a kiss is true, like she apparently tries to do with Neo, then she is one of the most dangerous monsters to have emerged from the ghoulish simulation. Amidst monsters and suffering, she would have been a succubus, a creature of temptation, capable of seducing anyone who only knew fear and used them. The fact that Persephone became the wife of the Merovingian, the lord of the digital underworld, reinforces the idea that they both come from that primitive version of the Matrix. And number 1. Will Persephone return in Matrix 5? To understand how Persephone could return in Matrix 5 and what her true plan is, we must recap one of our channel's earliest theories, Persephone's kiss. The theory proposes that her kiss was more than her attempt to experience emotion. There was another purpose behind Neo locking lips with the voluptuous program. She was probably copying part of the anomaly's code. Believe it or not, this theory gained momentum after Matrix Resurrections came out, since the entire concept of love and the connection between Neo and Trinity took a much more practical turn when it was revealed that their connection is the key to activating the integral anomaly, but we'll talk more about this later. To help understand this hypothesis, we must return to the moment when Trinity almost shot Persephone. The Oracle sent Neo to find the Keymaker. At the time, the Merovingian was at war with the Oracle. He wanted to take the Oracle's eyes to gain the power of foresight. Persephone was upset, to say the least, with her husband, as he was an adulterer. But as we eventually come to understand later, perhaps this was a lie between the evil couple to steal something from the One. Persephone kissing others never made much sense in the movies. Even in the video game Enter the Matrix, Persephone can kiss ghosts or Niobe, depending on which character the player chooses. So why does this program insist on being kissed? What was she looking for when trying to invoke the feeling of love in a kiss? Persephone is one of the oldest programs in the Matrix. She might even come from the same version of the simulation of the Merovingian. In previous videos, we have theorized that Persephone was once a program similar to the Oracle, one that focuses on understanding human emotions. It was assumed that Persephone's betrayal, kissing Neo, was because of the Merovingian's frequent infidelities, or that she had simply fallen out of love with him. But she could not leave him. This may have been a misinterpretation.
I'm so sick and tired of his bullshit. On and on. Pompous prick.
What was she talking about? Was Persephone tired of repeating the same cycle, but she had no choice but to fulfill her role indefinitely? Maybe her kissing Neo wasn't an act of jealousy. Maybe it was part of the Merovingian's plan.
A long time ago, when we first came here, it was so different. He was so different. He was like you.
The Merovingian has the power to manipulate the Matrix code, just like Neo. Many fans believe that what Persephone is referring to is that the Merovingian was the integral anomaly from an earlier simulation, but she is actually alluding to something completely different. What separates Neo from the Merovingian is something more intangible. The power of the Merovingian comes from his knowledge. Now then, during the Matrix Resurrections, we learned something very important. The anomaly was never just about Neo, but rather, what activated it was the connection that existed between him and Trinity.
It was never just you. Alone, neither of you is of any particular value. Like acids and bases, you're dangerous when mixed together. Every sim where you two bonded, let's just say bad things happened.
Realizing that the love between the couple works as a key to activating the anomaly, Persephone's intentions become much clearer, and the theory that she was trying to copy part of the anomaly may actually be plausible. After Neo died in the first film, it was Trinity's kiss that revived him, like a fairy tale. Now it makes much more sense, since that love between them was the key to restarting Neo's body. By understanding that Neo and Trinity's love is something more than emotions and intimacy, but that it has a practical purpose, we see that the Oracle may have created that connection between them as a strategic action to change the balance of the equation. The Merovingian has seen the cycle repeat itself many times and has faced the other ones in the past.
Mark my words, boy, and mark them well. I have survived your predecessors, and I will survive you.
The Merovingian wanted to take the Oracle's eyes and copy or steal the anomaly's powers, and he used his wife to do it.
You love her. She loves you. It's all over you both. A long time ago, I knew what that felt like. I want to remember it. I want to sample it. That's all. Just a sample. But you have to make me believe I am her.
Now, if this theory is true, then somehow the Merovingian learned that the Oracle wanted to change the Matrix using love. And so he began to sample this emotion using Persephone, who kissed who knows how many red pills in search of understanding. The Merovingian wanted to know what was the anomaly. In the Matrix Resurrections, the Merovingian had lost everything, including his wife. He returned simply to mention that he would return again in a spin-off.
This is not over yet. I will sequel franchise spin-off.
Was that truly an affirmation of a Merovingian spin-off? Who knows? Maybe. Then comes the Machine Civil War. No one knows what happened to the Frenchman's wife. He became a vagabond, looking similar to one of his former henchmen, the Train Man. There are many things left incomplete, but hopefully we will learn what happened to Persephone in Matrix 5, since the only character who promised to return was the Merovingian. How could she return in the new movie? Well, there are several angles from which our story could continue. Perhaps a Merovingian origin story, since he is a program that has been around from nearly the beginning, and who has witnessed all the changes that have occurred in the Matrix. This could connect to what ultimately became of Persephone. She may have been purged by the Analyst, or she is his prisoner. Perhaps Neo's kiss gave the Merovingian the power to survive the Civil War. There is still much we don't understand, but what is clear is that the story of the Merovingian and Persephone remains incomplete. There are still many questions yet to be answered. Monica Bellucci, the actress who played Persephone, has mentioned in the past that her role in The Matrix significantly helped her career. So maybe, in the future, she could return as the Kiss-obsessed program. But do you agree? Will we see Persephone in Matrix 5? Or was she purged after the Machine Civil War? Was there a hidden agenda behind her kisses? For Matrix Explained, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.